Greetings everybody and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So here we go again, back at our series for the month of September, those other prog wars. Yes, so these are the bands that, they're not well known, they're not international successes. They're not even like the bands that are right underneath them. They're bands below that. These are bands that really didn't make it for a number of reasons, many of which you already know. Either they didn't have enough albums, they only released a couple albums, they couldn't get a proper record label maybe they were on a weak record label, maybe they had a manager that didn't promote them that well, or they had problems with their membership shuffling around, or something happened while they were on tour and they couldn't continue. Whatever the reasons, and there's many of them. Some of them lived in countries that didn't speak English and they didn't make it in America, or they didn't make it in Britain, or whatever the reasons are. They weren't quite up to where they needed to be in order to make it. But the music is a different story. Many of these bands have excellent, top-rate progressive rock, and that's what I talked to Ben when we were deciding on doing this series. It was my idea, but I told him what I wanted, and he suggested a few things, and we came up with these, and he's the one that chose all of these bands and all of the albums for this tournament, but under my direction for what type of music I wanted. And so I've been very pleased with this series. Yeah, it's not getting as many views as some of the other series might get, but it definitely is promoting these lesser prog bands, and I'm all for that. So today we have an interesting battle. This is the beginning now of the quarterfinals. They're down to 8 albums left, 8 bands left. This is a matchup between two very strong bands, and I gave Ben again carte blanche to put the matchups however he felt he would like to see them, and he chose this one. These are two very strong bands, two very strong albums actually, but very different. They're different in some senses. I find the one band has a really style that really is well within my wheelhouse, and the other band maybe outside the wheelhouse, but really interesting stuff in their music. So, of course, the two bands we're doing tonight are Ilovatar and their album Children from 1995, which we already have said is on the Inside Out label. The other band is Medina Azahara, their self-titled album from 1979. I don't have the record label for them, though. Anyways, two very different bands. One of them, Ilovatar, is a prog, like that second-tier prog sound, They have that Genesis sound, they have that Marillion sound, pretty uptight, pretty tight here. The other band, Medina Azahara, is a progressive rock band from Spain. So we have two really interesting two really interesting combatants here. The Ilovatar album, I like it a lot because it reminds me of that early Genesis stuff. I'm not talking about the Peter Gabriel era Genesis. I'm talking about the early Phil Collins led era music, which is actually very similar to the Genesis stuff, but his voice is a little different. And this guy has a voice that sounds quite a bit like him at times throughout the track. Very reminiscent of Phil Collins, a lot of it. They also have, at parts, he does have a kind of fish-sounding voice at times as well. Especially later in the album, there's a real transition from that Genesis sound to a Marillion sound, and there's not a lot of difference there. I think the Marillion sound's just more modern, more cleaned up a bit than the Genesis stuff did. Anyways, really solid stuff here. I love the bass here. He's the bass player. Some awesome stuff going on with him on this album. I think he's great. The more I listen to it, the more I like the sound of his. Excellent sound and production quality, what you might expect from a real intricate prog music. The other thing is, my favorite track, of course, is Haze, which is the opening track. So catchy, so good, so well put together, so instrumentally strong. This band is pretty strong that way, with a lot of really strong keyboard and heavy parts on it as well. So the album, and I'm just going to flip over here. The group they're up against, Medina Azahara, really strong. Lots of very good vocals on this album, and especially the twinning vocals are really strong. Really clear sounding vocals as well. And this helps them because their music is a little bit different than what I'm used to. The cover I liked, that Egyptian cover, I really liked that. Lots of piano and guitar solos on this album as well. I do like piano in my prog music. I really do. If used correctly, it can really add to it. The solos are really dominant, and to be honest with you, this whole group is very instrumentally gifted. They're all really strong. They all complement each other well. I do like some of the catchy, heavier beats on this album as well. Just overall, it's a strong instrument. There's strong instrumentation on here, and the vocals are just fantastically clear in a lot of aspects of it. So now it just came down to deciding which one of them did I enjoy more and which one do I think deserves to win this battle. This was not an easy pick because I quite like both of these bands a lot. The more I listen to them, this doesn't always happen. Sometimes I listen to bands and the first time out of the gate I really like them, or maybe the first time out of the gate I don't like them. And then we have a reverse effect. So the first time I really like them, then sometimes it drops off and I don't like them as much as I thought I did. Or if I didn't like them, sometimes they take off on the second listen too. And that's happened a few times too. It can't really happen in a tournament like this or in a battle like this, because if you have an off day, you're likely going to be gone. But I enjoyed listening to both of these albums today, and I think either one would make a great representation into the next round. However, I can't have two of them go through, so only one could, and I decided, just based on them being in my wheelhouse, I had to go with Ilovatar. I just think that Ilovatar, sorry, I don't know why I want to call him Tater. Ilovatar and their album Children. I think it's more in my wheelhouse than the Medina one. Azahara one is a little bit outside of that, although I do appreciate it quite a bit. It's a great album. So Ilovatar will go on to the next round and face whoever the next opponent will be. But this was a fun battle to do, and I apologize it's a little bit dark, but night's out there and lighting is not super strong here. I've tried to enhance it with some more natural light to try and take a little bit of the yellow out of the night ones, but you can't always achieve that success. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. Put any comments you have about either of these bands, if you know anything about them or how you feel about the series, or anything in general that you want to mention to me that you like or dislike. I will, if you dislike it, I'll try to fix it if I can, and if you love it, that's great. I'll be glad to talk to you about it. So have yourself a good night, and this will come out tomorrow morning, Monday morning, and we'll see you then. Take care.